The Village Council work session meeting of June 24th, 2025. We call it to order. We have 3 items on regular business, and we have a closed session following that. The first item is a discussion of website analytics for the Village of Pinehurst. We have Kristen. I assume, Kristen, that you can start us off.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Thanks for having me, Mayor, Council, and Mr. Willardson. First, we're going to talk about some analytics and trends that we're seeing, and I did this presentation last year, and I only used 1 year of data. This year, I'm going to compare to last year. Keep in mind, we're about a week shy of being finished with FY 25, excuse me. So you can see the numbers on the left from 2024, and the numbers from the right, 2025. That's exactly what I would expect from a U.S. Open year versus a non-U.S. Open year. And when we get to the individual pages that are viewed, you'll see where the U.S. Open fit in.
So we've got, help me understand the difference between views and event count.
So a view is simply just someone looking at a page, landing on the page.
Okay.
An event count is someone is engaging with the website somehow, clicking, sharing, copying, forwarding, downloading an action.
In this case, M is million, not thousand.
Say that one more time?
Yeah, million.
M, 1.4 million event counts, or 1.2 against
Yes.
503,000. Okay.
Yes, sir. Top 10 list for FY24 versus FY25. I'm very confident with our predictions based on this. You can see that everything basically shifted up, except when the U.S. Open was gone, except the employment opportunities bumped up, which we were glad to see. We have been utilizing QR codes on all of our literature that our HR team takes out to job fairs. So I think that's created a little extra bump up to feature them in the top 10. Also, library was expected to change places with planning just based on what we've got going on this year. It makes sense to me.
So our homepage is attracting about 90,000 visits a year. Is that
On an open year, yes.
on an open year? And
On a non-open year,
80,000
I would be
non-
comfy with 80,000.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
One of the items
But
that,
before you move on to that,
yes.
do we have any handle on how many of those are unique visitors versus repeats or anything?
I do have that data. I don't have it on me, but I can get that. It's probably about 5 to 10% that are unique users every month. Most of our website hits are repeats. I'm imagining all of you, staff,
Every
residents.
time I open my internet browser, it goes to this. So.
That's right. It's your
Yes.
home page.
Yes. It does not. It goes to mine goes to the intranet. But one of the items that was not in last year's presentation, and the mayor brought it up last week, was about how does our website compare with our community survey results. So I just wanted to pull those up and kind of give a good overview about what actions we're taking based on the data that we're seeing from that. Interestingly, efforts to keep you informed about local issues was the most satisfied rank that we got, but also one of the highest dissatisfied. Even though it's only 7%, it's still something that we want to pay attention to. And in response to that and other things, we have created a Hot Topics page, which we launched fall of last year. And this is a page that there's a lot of topics that come up, like the Pinehurst Traffic Circle, which that's an NCDOT project. So it was difficult to kind of find a home for it that felt genuine and right and pushed out to all the right folks, the NCDOT folks. So we created this Hot Topic page, which has been fairly popular. It's getting pretty full. We've got STRs on there. Even though STRs fit nicely under planning, we still felt that it needed its own highlight on the Hot Topics page just because of the nature of the topic.
Now, there may be 8 or 9 hot topics on there right now.
There
Seems like
are,
So
there
it's-
are.
A lot of hot topics going on.
Well, we were, yes, when we
gonna pare it
originally
down.
started, we're like, we should keep it to 5. And maybe we need to comb some out and have them repeat when it bubbles up again.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, we should evaluate them. Then we get surprise additions like
Right.
downtown construction issue, so.
Right. I think it's a good, and it's an easy place to tell folks, just go to the Hot Topics page, because most likely, unless they're asking for a permit, it's going to be on that page if it's a question.
We never push out, though, do we? We always wait for someone to connect.
What do you mean?
Push information out through the website.
As like you mean like
Well,
text?
not quite email, but you can actually,
Like a blast.
Right.
You could, we used to have, I think you can sign up for RSS feeds, but most of our residents, it will not push out. We do have the capability on our app to push out,
subscribe to something.
well, to push out something automatically. I'm a little wary about that because I don't want folks to then
Intrusive.
delete it.
It can be
Yes.
intrusive.
I want it to, I don't want it to aggravate folks. I want
Yeah,
it
we
to
don't
be,
want to annoy people
Right.
any more than we have to.
right.
Anything we're pushing out, we're doing mostly through social media.
Yes.
And then the banner on the main webpage.
Everything, every piece of content that we create, parking is a good example. The press release that went out a couple weeks ago, that gets replicated on all of our platforms, social media, the website, NAC distribution list. So we try to, anytime we create a piece of content, we try to make sure that it goes out as widely as possible. The Village newsletter is something that we are evaluating, improving consistency on, and evaluating the additional mailer options that we might have. We unfortunately lost another local print shop to retirement, which seems to be common across the nation. Print shops are closing, everybody's moving to online printers. That's not a great option for us.
Kristen, there is one going out like right now, right?
Yes,
Butter,
yes, it should be in your mailboxes this week.
Yeah, I haven't.
Or
got
over
one
the
yet,
weekend.
Just so you know.
Okay, thank you. And then opportunities to participate. That was one of the areas that we wanted to focus on, and we have really tried to activate the NAC, and I think it's successful. There's always ways that we can improve our communication, but I feel positive that that group is going to continue to grow and
I have a suggestion there, and that is one of, do we know how many email addresses, I guess is the right phrase, that each of our neighborhood advisory committee members have in their neighborhood?
yes.
I mean, I know
Kind
I get a lot of contact, or good amount of contact, from my neighborhood area. I did in the past. The new person, I'm receiving something, I don't know, every other week. But I'm curious because I think that's a measurement of their effectiveness a little. I can't believe everybody has about the same amount of emails addressed. So I'd be curious in seeing how that shapes up.
The distribution list differs greatly depending on the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods have a very active POA or HOA already established, and so it's easier for those NAC members to get information out. Unless they have signed up with the village, I do not have access to individual distribution lists. Let's say if CCNC has their own private distro, I don't have that. I only have the folks that have signed up through
But does each,
the website.
Does each NAC rep know the number of people, not
They
necessarily who
should.
they are?
They get the distribution list from me every quarter.
I think it'd be useful to know which NAC reps are just, sort of going gangbusters with getting news out versus those that may not be so much.
Well, and I
It
think
might
there's
tell
a
us little
difference
something.
between how many emails are going out versus how many people are in their distribution list. We have many NACs that have less than 10 on their distribution list. And then we have some that, have 100, 200, and more, they might have more, they're just not telling me, hey, I've, combined these two distribution lists.
I guess my question is, how do we grow the 10? The ones that have 10, I think that,
We
that's
keep putting it
causing,
out.
that's going to cause us some friction out there.
A couple of years ago, we emailed a postcard to every single
Mailed.
resident and with the QR code to sign up or however.
Right.
But yes,
We're constantly pushing it on our website, it's on our Facebook page, it's in the newsletters, it's in, I mean, we're putting it everywhere we can, other than
What are you putting there?
the link to go sign up for your individual NAC distribution group. And it's very important that we have folks opt in.
Right.
We can send out mailers all day long, but getting folks to actually sign in to join a new, who wants another email in their inbox? So there's a fine balance. And then we've got 20,000 followers on our Facebook page. Every single thing that goes out to NAC goes out on our Facebook page. So a lot of folks might say, well, this seems redundant. I'm not going to sign up for this because everything comes through social media. So it's important to remember we got to meet people where they're at. They may not all want an email every 2 weeks from the village on something that they might not be interested in. So we're continually trying to grow that using our NAC reps as those ambassadors to get folks to sign up.
I think it would be worthwhile doing one of our mini online surveys about that.
How would
It's
you
not going to be
survey?
scientific.
But I'm looking, the village newsletter, pretty good reception there. Village website, pretty good reception there. But I think you're right. I don't want to get 2 emails. If I'm getting one through social media, I don't need to get one from my NAC rep.
Right.
That may be both an explanation for why people don't sign up and a reason why there's not a lot we can do about that. We can keep pushing and asking people to sign up, but they're always saying, no, I don't want to do this.
And I think that it's a good, I think we do a lot of replication of communications. We need to because there's so many platforms, but I think that's a good point.
I guess it's not till September we have an NAC meeting, but maybe we can solicit their thoughts, because there's some folks there who I think have put together relatively large number of people on their email list, and there are others who I don't think do as much. And maybe the sharing of that information among them might generate folks with, to increase the membership on these lists.
Well, and I think also we have to make sure that we are setting the expectations clearly. This is a volunteer committee. How much time are we asking, are we expecting from these NAC reps?
Yeah, I'm not even saying give them a goal of a number. I'm just saying share the information. There may be some who don't realize that Community X has a couple of hundred people that they send something out to, and they may be curious, geez, how did you get that? And a little exchange of information might increase it. Anyway, it's something for an NAC discussion, but this is helpful. Go ahead.
Any other questions on this?
Not on this slide, not for me.
Oh, sorry. External platforms that we currently use, so keep in mind, all of the data that I've provided you, that does not take into account Excella, which is our planning platform, Civic Rec, which is the website that pushes folks to register for classes, programming, our GIS, or archives, and my VOP, of course.
Everyone's favorite American Legal.
Oh, everyone's favorite.
Are we hooked on that, or is there anything we can do about American Legal?
I have no idea.
I mean, there are other vendors we can look at.
I mean, they're frustrating. It's a frustrating webpage.
The other ones are somewhat
Just as
frustrating.
frustrating.
There is
But I mean, it's an option that we have actually talked about looking into. So
Maybe we just ought to look into it, because
What is our goal in having that there?
so people can look up our ordinances.
that's the theory.
That's the link to, okay.
That's what frustrates people.
Presumably part of the
We're looking
PDO
into
update is a
Municode.
streamlining of that process?
Well, so American Legal will have our PDO in it, uploaded into their system.
And while we're on this slide, I want to bring up my VOP, that was brought up. So the mayor had asked how many users we have on my VOP. So we have 2 different scenarios here. We have the app where folks have actually downloaded it onto their phone. That's about 1,500 downloads. Downloading an app into your phone, I think everyone knows, your data on your space on your phone is really valuable. Sometimes I take too many pictures and I have to download an app, and guess what? The first app I'm going to delete so I can take more pictures of my kid. It's probably going to be the local municipal app, and then I'll reload it right after I clean up some storage on my phone. But the MyVOP also acts on our desktops, so you don't have to have the app to put in a MyVOP request. So over the past year, we had roughly 5,500 entries into MyVOP. I am not allowed to separate that out, Mayor, into app versus web-based, because you had asked about how many people submit a ticket or an entry.
Downloaded it?
Downloaded the app, but you don't have to have the app to
I understand, so,
Yes.
and the other number is 5,500.
5,500 tickets, so entries
Oh, entries, I thought,
into MyVOP.
okay.
And you also asked about how many people are using it. Because of the nature of MyVOP, I can do that. It would be manual. It would take me a while to parse that out. So like we might have one resident in Village Acres that has only done one MyVOP ticket when they first moved in to get an extra yard waste cart or whatever from solid waste. But then you might have another resident who's submitted 2,500 tickets.
But we do know how many tickets we've done.
Yes, approximately 5,500, and that's internal and external. And
That's 15 a day.
2,000 of those are garbage carts. That's our highest ticket,
Sure,
garbage carts.
I bet.
Those would be all external. So the 5,500, they're
Could be
35.
external, could be internal, could be our code enforcement going out. It could be,
Okay.
when I say garbage cans, I mean leaving them out, not requesting them.
There's a
So you
lot
can
of-
request a garbage can?
Saying nobody came and picked mine up today.
No, that's different. That's called a return pickup.
Okay.
So when I say garbage cans, there was 1,330. Those are violations on the resident. Signs were next at 400, so there's a big disparity. And then you've got return pickups, which are 379. So those are the ones where they call, you missed me. Now we've got the technology on our vehicles to say it wasn't out.
Right, I know that one. I've
We
heard
can,
from-
we can.
Heard from people on that one. That's
Okay.
very interesting. 379, I didn't know how
And
many.
so I'll just read over the top 10. But just keep in mind that there's a big disparity between one and the rest. So garbage cans is one, signs, return pickup, cart request at 368. So that's, hey, my wheel broke, I already called and paid for a new one, I need a new cart. Vehicles is 320. Those are unauthorized vehicles. They might have an expired tag. Yes, sir. Exactly. And then we go down, we jump from 320 to 148, the Fair Barn rentals. So a lot of our folks submit MyVOP request for Fair Barn rentals. And then we've got stormwater drain issues and then fleet work orders. So that's things like, hey, I've got a fuse out in my police cruiser kind of deal. So those are the top requests that we're getting on MyVOP.
Well, that's helpful to know what are our citizens actually spending their time on to the point that they will go to MyVOP. You got the, okay, that's it. Those are the issues.
That is
they
a
like.
lot of garbage cans that people complain about.
Well, and keep in
That's
mind,
very true.
it's that's internal and external.
Right,
So,
sure.
so that could be our code compliance office just,
I think that's
Doing great on
the
their
best data we
inspections.
have. Go ahead, keep going. That's interesting.
so who maintains the website? It takes a team to do this for sure. The IT department takes care of all the back end things. Then we've got administrative staff that update departmental pages as needed. Clerk, obviously, with council materials. I help with news, banner images, graphics, and Library and Parks update their events calendars, which is very important because, as we've seen, they're top 10 consistently, year after year.
The big thing with websites, and this is no secret, is that keeping the data up to date, keeping it up to date, because there's nothing worse than going to a page, and it's obviously a year and a half, 2 years out of date, it's just old news. That's a struggle.
It is. But then there's also things that you want to live, like your book that you wrote that's on the website. So there's a very fine balance between having something that you want to live as a
Maybe,
as a
I don't know.
document on the website.
Do I get a vote on that one?
It's staying up.
Okay.
It is staying up.
The other thing that, minor bug on the website is that if I'm looking for, and I'll give you an example, the PDO, if I go down the wrong route, I end up with a 2013 document. I don't end up in American Publishing. I end up somewhere else. And it happens. You don't need to do it now.
I was going to.
I guarantee you.
But I know what
there
you mean. I
are-
was going to show you a trick.
There are ways to get the wrong information on the website.
Yes.
And scrubbing that is a huge task. I don't know how many people are involved in it, but it's significant.
It is, and there's disposition requirements for different documents. One thing I will suggest is our search function. It was in the top 10, and I'm very glad to see that, because it works. If you go to I don't even use the drop downs anymore. I use our search tool because it's so efficient. Right now, if you do hot topics, if you
Who's our underlying tech for our search? Are we using Google?
Granicus.
On in the website, right?
And one of the recommendations, so we have a refresh scheduled for FY26. We'll be working on not a complete overhaul, but just a refresh of the website to add in some new tools that might be beneficial. AI is increasingly getting better and smarter. It's still not perfect, but I think
Provide us a lot of metrics, Granicus? Do they provide us a lot of web metrics?
they don't drill down page by page, but we actually use Google Analytics. We don't.
Okay.
I don't use the Granicus Analytics.
Okay.
It doesn't drill down to like how many people clicked on this page or.
We don't get bounce
But I
rates
get-
or traffic or
I do
anything
get
like
that. I get stickiness, how long people are on the page. I get probably the top 10 analytics that you can that mean something. A lot of times the analytics are set up by ROI, and that's hard for
Yeah,
local
yeah.
government.
Right, because we're not selling
To
anything.
put in
right.
those goals. So we just get the basics.
To Jack's point on keeping information updated, is there anywhere a catalog of the data that we put up there that someone can say, oh, gee, that's now a year old, we ought to be,
No, we do not. So every piece of content that goes up on our website, there is a section where you can expire it. So if I do a news release for a holiday, July 4th, we're closing, for instance, I will do a news release, post it on the page, and then schedule it to archive itself a week after July 4th. That's easy to do on news releases. On documents like a fence permit FAQ, that's harder to do because you don't know when the rules might change. It's harder to do with parking, for instance, the parking rules that we put up.
I mean, I think Jack's point was, if you go to a page and you see information on it that is obviously a year and a half or 2 years, I'm not sure what the question would be, but any question, do we have a list of those things that we put up in the interest of trying to keep our citizens informed?
Are you talking about like a line-by-line list of every document that goes up?
No,
Okay.
no. I'm thinking there could be 10 or 15 or 20 pieces of information that we put up that maybe have a shelf life of a year, but then someone has to remember a year from now to put the updated information in it.
Yes, and it's easy on the front end, so if I know it's going to expire in a year, then I can set that when I publish it. However, if it changes, if there's a small tweak,
Excuse me.
then you have to remember to go back and unpublish it.
Yeah, let's take our IAPs, for example. Those, those were on the website, or maybe still are on the
Oh,
website. those could be a challenge to keep up to date because we've been, in the last year or so, kind of changing the format and the content and the quantity and so forth.
That's Ashley's job to change every quarter, but yeah.
Okay. I do think that on the Hot Topics page, what I have found interesting is that because you're saving certain documents after a while, from memory standpoint, if you want to go back and figure out where did this come from, those 5 or 10 documents are all there on that page, whether it's the Circle, STRs, ETJ, whatever, they're all right there. And I have found that very, one, useful for myself, and 2, useful to send people there,
Absolutely.
because they don't call me back. I say, look, it's all listed. That's my test. I say, if you, whatever we have is listed on that Hot Topics page under ETJ, and they don't call back. because
Yeah,
they-
so one thing, like over Christmas break when it was relatively quiet around here, I just took like an afternoon and I went through and like archived everything that seemed old on it. And so I think what we need to do is that occasionally and make sure that it's updated and looked at.
Okay.
And we do for, I mean, I do personally for news articles and things, but, you know, I'm going to be honest, if Parks uploads a May open gym schedule,
Right.
I'm not sure that I go back and uncheck that. But that's something that we can definitely put into place with our users. There's a new federal rule that went into place in early June of this year, requiring municipal, local governments to have a very robust, accessible website. Really? I'm serious.
Where did that come from?
Sounds like something Raleigh would do, but the federal government.
It's been in the works for a while. It's
Yeah,
been in
it
the
must have been
works-
around. If it's a new rule that went in
Yes,
place,
it's
gotta be a couple
it's been
years
in the
old.
works since I've been in local government,
you
honestly.
go.
They've been talking about it. So the compliance deadline for local municipalities that are under 50,000 is April 27. So we have some time to get that done, but with our refresh next year, I'm going to suggest that we go ahead and look at building those accessibility features into our website.
Contract.
I mean, that's not that difficult. It's like
No, it's like
making
one-
the
it's like a
font big
plugin.
enough to see from.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
that
call
code?
outs.
There's a code in the law about this. What is it? Anyone remember it?
I had it
The
because I was putting that
number
down.
code or something that you have to be compliant with 27.2 or something.
Yes.
All right, anyway.
So,
I know
but
what you're
little
saying.
things like readouts, so it'll be very important for folks that are, that have limited visibility.
Sure.
So that means, and that's very difficult for local government because everything we do in ordinance and has all caps in it. Readouts cannot read that. So we will have to train everyone to not talk in caps for anything. Even the headlines cannot be in all caps or you cannot read it. So there's going to be little things like that that we're going to have to teach
Okay.
staff to do that can make it
Good to
easily
know about this
accessible.
rule. Too late to pull it back. Go ahead.
All right, so that's the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, comments, I'll be glad to.
I have a handful of questions. Ha. Now, you were, I'm going back to the survey that I'm pulling this from the survey that you put up on the screen. When people were asked, which of the following do you use to get information about the Village of Pinehurst from our community survey of 2024? So a few pages.
yeah.
Okay, you're at 39.
It's
The number one news source or information source was the pilot, 66%. Then was our village newsletter, which is 61%, which I found interesting because we asked, how often do you read the village newsletter? Now, we haven't put one out lately, but it's mailed to all residents. But 89% answered all the time or sometimes. So either they are reading it or they think they're reading it because,
I think
or
that
they
they're-
just remember very well the last one they read.
That's pretty cost-effective.
I believe that they are reading the
So
e-newsletter
My
and
point-
considering
that could
it.
be, that could be. My point is that they feel it's a vehicle of information for them.
Yes.
So we ought to keep that in mind. Now, the village website was the next item, which was 48%. So that VOPNC. Then as you tail down, Engage Pinehurst, I don't think we have that anymore.
We
but
do not.
Good. But you're right about the village mobile app, MyVOP. That's at 17%. as opposed to 48% of our website. So, I mean, I keep mentioning my VOP to folks, and I know people who, when they use it, they say, hey, that worked. That's the most, that worked. I say, yeah, that's why we have it. So,
They don't stumble on it. You have to be directed almost.
Really, but once they get it hooked, it's, anyway, I just mention those things because I do think we can keep driving people to use fewer of these. The ones we control, the newsletter, the website, the mobile app, those are things that we actually control. The pilot, we don't control.
Social media also, I don't want to get, I know that a lot of you don't use a lot of social media, but.
No, social media came up
we-
as 30%.
Yes,
So it was there.
we have a very robust social media program that we're very proud of.
So anyway, the other thing I wanted to ask about is that in earlier strategic operating plans, 2021, 2022, 2023, we had these underperformance goals and KPI sort of section. We actually had numbers that said the total number of Facebook users reached with VOP posts, the number of Facebook engaged users who click, comment, and or share. And a couple of years they were in the category of 1 million. And I don't understand that. So I don't know why there's 1 million people.
Because I
who get
create
to us.
amazing social media content, Mayor.
Well, that's fine. But what is driving people to look at Facebook about us?
Because we have a very engaging social media platform.
Well, so that's the answer.
That's
Okay.
the answer, yes.
And so we're up to, well, the last projection, when we did projections, was 1.8 million for FY 2025. Do we still have this data?
We still have it. We stopped collecting it because I was not making any decisions based off that data. It was just, and once you reach the threshold of your followers is more than the resident count, I feel like it kind of, if you're hitting that goal above and beyond every single month and you're not making any decisions based off of it, I really don't see the need to spend time to present it to you folks. I still check it as social media coordinator or communications specialist.
Well, I'd be curious to see if it's
It's similar.
still going gangbusters.
It is still going gangbusters.
I mean, we must have crashed through the 2 million mark by now. But I don't know, how do we tell that story to our residents?
Well, also you have to keep in mind which posts create that engagement. It's posts that we do not want to create. It's high-profile crimes, it's arrest, it's those types of things that really go gangbusters on social media. They get legs. You all see it.
All right, let me ask you to distinguish this for me. This is where I need to get educated for sure. The total number of followers on all social media sites, this is from our SOP, it was 25,000 in 21. But the total number of Facebook users reached with VOP posts in FY 2021 was 1.5 million. What is the difference between followers on all social media sites and total number of Facebook users?
So we've got other additional social media platforms that we utilize. Instagram is.
Oh, that's social
is
media sites,
Social
Instagram.
media.
Instagram.
Previously, we utilized RIP Twitter. It's not a platform that we use a lot now, just because of the credibility. There's a lot of inappropriate content that we get tagged in. So it's hard to, I don't want to look at our Twitter data. I'd rather look at our Facebook and Instagram data. But that was included in that year's users.
Yeah, but a follower is someone that like
So a
is
follow.
actively subscribed to your thing and
And to get back to your question about what's the difference between Facebook users and this, so if I share a post from the village on my personal Facebook account and it reaches my family back in Cowpens, South Carolina, and they engage with it, they don't follow the village, but they still saw it and they still engaged with it because of me, because it was on my timeline. So that's an example of why you might have an extreme amount of views on something, we had that century plant that was blooming at Rassy Wicker that got the interest of tons of gardeners around the area that aren't Pinehurst locals that were engaging with the Post. So that's why you're going to have that differential.
Okay, I got one last question. This goes back to an NAC meeting that I was at in 2023. The village has 8,790 subscribers to one of its email lists. These are segmented based on appropriate audience, village businesses, parks, recreation, etc. What does that mean? When you say subscriber there, that's someone who signed up?
Yes, sir. So on our website, you'll notice on the email blast sign up, the email newsletters, it's sectioned out into topics. So we have a library page, we have a village council page. So a mom, for instance, might be only interested in the library and parks. So they're not going to sign up for stormwater notification. We don't do that, but for instance, yes, sir. They might, I'm a mom and I'm interested in village council.
So, I mean, we've got 18,000 residents and almost 9,000 are subscribers on our email list.
That's cumulative.
That's pretty active residents.
And 18,000 includes children, so.
Yes.
Right.
This is the most active community in terms of engagement that I've ever been a part of.
Well, this is helpful. I would, additional information, it's one of the few ways we can at least measure a hunch of what our residents are sort of focusing on and steering on. And the fact that signs and garbage issues rise to such a level, it may sound trivial, but it is informative of what our residents pay attention to as neighbors. Those are all neighbors things,
I do have one last comment.
But let me ask you one more thing
Yes, sir.
about YouTube.
YouTube, yes.
You
That's how
mentioned YouTube.
we
I know we stream and so forth and so on. You can get past meetings and so forth, but we don't use it a whole lot past that, do we?
We use it for internal videos if we have to do some training.
Sure.
But yeah, we don't have a production team. So if we do a video past the village council meeting.
How do we categorize them on YouTube, just internal or
No,
private?
well, those are unpublished. So they would be,
Unpublished.
you would have to have the link to view it. So they're organized, and IT has done a great job of organizing them and planning, village council, all the different sections of meetings.
Other than transparency of government, what else would you recommend we use YouTube for?
I don't know, it's a very popular platform for a lot of companies and otherwise advertise.
I
Yes.
go to it sometimes to look at an old meeting. I find it sometimes.
That's
very
kind
quick.
of my point, other than transparency of government.
Well,
Right,
let's,
right.
What else
We have
would we
municipalities
put
in
up?
North
no,
Carolina.
just communication. Let's say, talk about the new parking regulation.
Yes.
If you really got creative, you could create a video of the parking regulation and examples of good parking and long parking and wrong parking and so forth and so
I
on.
bet that will go viral.
Well, you should read my script.
Send out a blast saying-
My script is pretty
With
good.
a link to it, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So the golf cart parking,
yes.
we had the presentation at the NAC on.
So
That's what we did.
I come from a PEG channel, so a public education government channel background. So I come from a TV background, and I see the importance of it. But I also know I'm one person, and production team, you need about 6 or 7 people
Yeah, though you
to
can
be
do some
successful.
things. I've put up a couple YouTubes.
Yes.
Actually, I've got a YouTube up on the history of Pinehurst, but I don't think anyone.
And
Can we link it to our website?
Well, we need a link. We need a link to that.
And I think it's important to note that any videos that we do, council meetings are going to look a certain way, feel a certain way. Of course, they're not going to be creative or anything like that, but our brand standard is very elevated here. And I respect my ability to be able to create a quick video with Dana or something, but if we're talking, I'm going to do a parking video as well, but
It can take a lot of effort.
it takes
I
a
realize.
lot of time. It takes probably 5 hours to edit a 1-minute clip.
Well, yeah.
If you've got with my talent. I'm not quick with it. So,
But you did do it with Dana for the budget. Like, there is a video that,
Yep.
2 minutes explaining it.
Okay,
it just takes a long time, but I would love to have
other
additional
media,
videos.
what can I tell you?
I would love to have additional videos. I do want to mention, real quick, the pilot was first on our list for residents. I want to make sure that our council and that our community realizes how unique and privileged we are to have a news agency here, locally owned, locally operated. It's very rare that you can get a reporter assigned to council meetings to
We've been trying
report
to
on
get, we've
this.
been trying to get one for a year now.
I know, I wish he would show up. But I think it's very valuable, whatever they report on, it's very valuable for our community that we have a local newspaper that can not only highlight our kids and our athletics, but our local news, because that does not happen in any community in North Carolina unless there's blood, fire, flood. That's the only time they come. So I'm very appreciative of the pilot.
That's an excellent observation. We are very fortunate to have not only local paper, but a locally owned paper.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
distinction, as opposed to some other communities,
So thank you, Matt, for,
No, but as I travel around to, county commissioners meetings or what have you, it's either Matt or it's Anna or Elena, and they're pretty much omnipresent. Somebody's there all the time.
yes.
So that's very valuable.
I would guess 80% of meetings in North Carolina are not covered like they're covered here.
Right.
So,
something like that. Okay, anybody have any other questions? This has been very informative. I learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you again in maybe a year, but this data, again, impacts my thinking, so I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to the item B, which is an update on current capital projects.
Thanks. I was going to pull up a list, but I'll just talk to it, I think.
There it is.
We already heard about the number 6 sidewalks this evening. So I don't know what those pink tags on the tree mean. I doubt that means that they're getting cut down. I'll look into that tomorrow.
Well, I walked the first 100 feet of that sidewalk, which was all that was done on
Yeah.
Sunday. It's really impressive. And it's going to wind around the sign down to the road. I think that's pretty good design. I think that's going to be a huge asset to that community. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I have been impressed. I think it looks better than I expected. It fits into the community. It doesn't look like an eyesore.
Right.
All right, so that project will continue through the summer. They're actually making really good progress. They have probably laid down the foundation area, or about half of it, and the contract is through October, but I think we'll finish probably in August. So that'll continue. Okay, the library. We got designs back from them today. I haven't had a chance to look at them at all. And I know Mike and Alex had some questions on them, but we're getting very, very close on that.
What does sort of that mean in terms of when a bid goes out, or is there something we do? I'm confused at what's the next step?
Next step is the bids are released, so
Okay.
that could happen. I was hoping late this week, but
That's a next week thing.
yes. I mean, next week's the holiday week, but we'll release it and whatever. If no one looks at it for a few days, not a problem.
Will be the return dates.
It'll be 4 weeks from whenever it's released.
30 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick. Okay.
So we're unlikely to be talking about that at the second meeting in July. It's going to be the first meeting of August.
We
Realistic.
have bids back, yes. We have a price, yeah. Okay. Magnolia Chinkapin, so that project, I emailed you that the contractor promised us that the intersection work would be completed by the 4th of July, and that the crosswalk would be installed. They promised that on Thursday, and I haven't seen anyone working out there yet. So we have been in contact with them, and our frustration level keeps bubbling up. So
I think obviously the most important thing is the U.S. Kids Golf issue, because that's going to be crowded downtown. The July 4th is 2 hours one day. That U.S. Kids is a bigger event, so we'll just have to do the best we can. And that is at the end of July, so it's at least more than a month now. We got more than 30.
Let's assume for the sake of the argument that they meet July 4th for the intersection. When would they expect to begin the stormwater stuff?
right after the holiday, and they we're intending to get that completed by US Kids. So that's what they promised us. I'm not promising that that will actually happen.
Just out of curiosity, with respect to a specific request I got from a resident, were we able to relocate the porta potty that they have?
We asked them to, and they said they would. I did not specifically check on that.
I have to admit, I couldn't find an obvious other place to go, but moving it from where it is would be useful, I think.
We have some work down at the harness track, so Barn 11, they were renovating the groom's quarters upstairs. So that project is complete, and they started on the restrooms. And I am not sure where those are. Maybe Carlton can inform us sometime about those, but I forget. The other project we're working on is Airport Road. The SMPO approved us $100,000-ish to work on the walkway that will be added on there between Forest Creek and the traffic circle Airport Road area. So we've requested that the engineer, we've requested engineer proposals on that. So that's moving
That's
forward.
starting to look like it will happen.
Yes.
Is that going to be a couple-of-year project? What do we?
I think that is a quicker than a couple of years. I think.
Okay.
I say that, but our projects here seems
Why?
having issues.
Write that down.
Yeah.
That's less than a couple of years.
That's kind of the 4 projects that are top of everyone's concerns. Anything else you want to ask?
I think you mentioned in one of your weekly updates the possibility of an RFQ for real estate consultant.
That's
Yeah.
for another that's another topic.
Yeah,
though.
another topic
Yeah,
tonight.
that's not this topic. That's when we go into close. Anything else on sort of other publicly discussed construction projects going on or about to go on? No? Okay. We can move on from the topic of capital projects. And we can go now to Donald Ross.
Yeah, so the next item, looked into a little bit what's the process for requesting a stamp, and kind of outlined it out there. There is a Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee. All it really takes is a letter. Certainly it would help if there were supporting letters to that. But if we want to make this an effort, we can. Just kind of looking for a little direction on that. This kind of came about because of our ongoing conversations with Dornick and our mutual association of benevolence, or whatever we call that thing. But this was one of the suggestions that came out of some of those conversations. So
I think it's sort of a harmless, low-hanging fruit thing we can do. And so,
it would not be a big lift for us to send a letter and request for a couple organizations to provide letters of support.
the worst that happens is they decline. I did say that we probably ought to copy our congressional delegation so that they're aware of it.
Yep.
And that's my only comment on it.
I got no problem sending a letter and voicing support. I don't want to take this on as something that's going to require lots of time. And
No.
becomes a big issue for us. So we got somebody else who's haunching this also. That's great. And throwing support in for them. But again, I don't want to take staff time on.
Yeah, I
on
don't
this
think
other
the
letter.
letter is much of a staff time issue.
I agree. The letter's fine, but I just don't want to get beyond that.
Okay, so let's go.
Well, from there, I will ask a few organizations like Donald Ross Society, USGA, the resort. They want to provide letters of support, and then we'll send it off.
Okay, and we'll copy who we need to, and then we can, we ought to make an announcement that we do this when we do it, or put it on the website, something like
Sure.
that. Any other comments?
I had a extraordinarily minor suggestion, which was to substitute Oakland Hills in Michigan for Aronimink. It's substantially more important in terms of hosting tournaments or what have you. When I Googled famous Donald Ross golf courses, it was normally number 1 or 2 or 3. Well, not, never number 1. Pinehurst number 2 always comes out as number 1, but then you get Seminole, and then you often get Oakland Hills.
I would
Other
ask-
than that, I have no problem with 11.
I would ask Audrey, she might have a good handle on Donald Ross. She has a very good handle on Donald Ross courses and those that have had, more notoriety. She might have good input there, whether it's Oakland Hills or Aronimink, I'm not sure.
We can even add Oakland Hills, so we don't have to replace it.
Just as an example, they've had 10 USGA tournaments, Aronimink has had 1 and 2 PGAs, so, but I think the suggestion to ask Audrey is not a bad one, because she will have a comprehensive
That's a
list.
list.
I mean, this
Doug?
is what ChatGPT said were the most important.
Yeah. Okay, so-
I tried them also.
Pine Needles would also run in there, too.
So just out of curiosity, what's in this for Pinehurst?
in it for us. It's where we have a statue of Donald Ross downtown. We have Donald Ross Drive. He's very associated with this village. He was born in.
I understand that's
and
why
so
we're
what-
doing it. I was wondering what, once,
If a stamp comes out?
Yeah.
Well, we can put the stamp on letters.
okay, thank you.
The idea of commemorative stamps is you buy them and you never use them. That's how they make money.
But no, Arnold Palmer, I still use Arnold Palmer stamps. You can go to them and get them in the post office down here.
And I will vote against any stamp collecting.
Yes, well, I'm not a stamp collector myself, but I use them on postage.
You could sell them at the archives.
Well, that's another item. Didn't think of that. We could. Okay, Doug, what's our next item?
Closed session.
Closed session. Okay, so someone want to make a motion?
I move to recess the work session and enter the closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A5 to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on or by half of the public body in negotiating, 1, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or 2, the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract.
Motion? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. We are going to move to a closed session. The technology to take